very special Purple Portal. I am Elaine, your reluctant mystic, and so happy to be here with you again. And I look forward today to sharing the cosmic news of the week and the day and some cosmic thoughts and hopefully thoughts that allow you to stretch your perception just a little bit. It's no fun to have your perception stuck in a box. The world likes to keep you in a box, but it's no place for you. You don't belong in a box. You are so much larger than a box. So hopefully some of the words and wisdoms that I share with you allow you to stretch and allow you to see yourself as you really are. The self that I see, that presence within, that super present awareness. So that's what we're going to strive for today and every week when we are together. And I certainly hope you are starting to share with your friends that there is a cosmic show on the air, and it's light and it's lively and it's just delicious. So be sharing. We need to share the good stuff these days. There certainly is enough bad stuff. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of done with it. So hopefully you are too, and we can all kind of join forces and see the real stuff inside. So today I do invite you to call in, as I do any and every week. And the number here is 321-806-3159. You can call in with any thoughts and ideas and whatever's on your little heart and soul. We will be talking about some Feng Shui today, especially Feng Shui for your business or your partner's business, and what do you need to do to fluff that up a bit. So we're going to go there, but we got some agenda. And the other way you can reach me privately if you're not comfortable on air, although the meet and greet committee here is just so warm and welcoming. You'll hear the voice of Jeff, and he'll take good care of you and just kind of zone you right on into my space. So once again, that's 321-806-3159. Now to reach me off the air, go to Purple, that would be the color, Purple, Portal, Portal, 777 at gmail.com. And remember, a portal is an opening. It's kind of a secret gateway. And that purple is into very high and wonderful dimensions. Dimensions where you're free to think and speak as you truly are. So my purple portal honors your portal. So let's join portals today. All right, so the first thing I want to tell you is we are just beginning to wind down the sign of Libra. It will end this Saturday on the 22nd of October. So that means there's a few more days for you to really take an accounting of how you've done with the energy under the sign of Libra. The balance wheel, the harmonizer, the peacemaker. Have you stood in harmony? Are you in harmony? You know, the other day, a person called me from another country, and I know she was looking forward to speaking to me. After about an hour and a half, though, it was time to end the call. And actually, it was probably more than time. And I must say, it would appear that I lost my footing with harmony. To which immediately the person reacted with, "There, you're angry. See, like I told you, you're angry." Well, you know, it's an interesting thing. Yes, my cackles got raised, and yes, I was finished with the conversation. And yes, I have a difficult time with boundaries. Simply saying to someone, our conversation's complete. Gotta go. So it was kind of a mixture of me having to stand firmly in a boundary And then this person coming up with judgments and labels that I'm angry. Be careful of the judgments and labels you put on one another. I guarantee they're probably mostly inappropriate and maybe downright incorrect. So I don't actually think that I did become angry. I think I finally had a boundary, which for the Libra energy is very challenging to reach. So those of you who are Libra, or even your moon is in Libra, or your rising sign is Libra, or it's in some critically aspected position on your chart, that Libra energy could have been tested this month. And maybe you lost your balance, and maybe you didn't. Maybe you now have a better position on the old inner balance wheel of life. And if you really want to know where is your Libra, or where is anything in your astrological chart, well, that's when you need to contact me at purpleportal777@gmail.com. I do private consultations, and perhaps a greater insight into who you are could really be helpful at this time. It's very timely that we all actually get a deeper appreciation of our strengths and our supposed weak suits. I kind of doubt they are. I don't think there's anything weak in a human nature. I think it's something that gets honed, perhaps a little more fine-tuned. But you're far stronger than you think, so let's look at your strengths and get them even stronger. So on Saturday the 22nd, now the 22nd, every time you see a 22 in a person's birthday or the date itself, 22 is always a very, very powerful number because it's a master number. So there could be some challenges this Saturday for you as we move into Scorpio. And Scorpio can have a little bit of a temper. Scorpio can be a little bit sharp-tongued, and resentments can come up. So enter the sign of maximum power, because that's what Scorpio is. Enter it with respect and understanding that you're stepping into much more of a frequency of greater power for the planet as well as for you. So in the United States of America, where there's been this, interesting contest going on between parties and peoples and within families and communities, where there's a tug of war and a sense of righteousness on both sides, it just could well be that under the sign of Scorpio, this is a tad exacerbated, and that is hard to believe. So put your exasperation boots on, close your mouth, and don't contribute to it. This is definitely a time where you do not want to pick up the packages of conflict that will be delivered under the sign of Scorpio. So it's very interesting that we're headed into that energy field, and next week I'll speak more on Scorpio. But those of you who are Scorpio, you are considered the most powerful sign in the zodiac. Therefore, what would your obligation be? To learn to use that power with discernment, with discretion, wisely, never to disempower someone else. And Scorpios can be very good at that because they need to be all-powerful. Well, how do you get more power? You usurp someone else's power. And that's simply a violation of spirit. It's a massive karmic violation. So start addressing it already and learn to use power correctly. And those of you who feel you've stepped out of your power, now's the time to learn to step back into it. Many people who haven't found how to use their voice correctly, you'll have a lot of opportunities under the sign of Scorpio. Because there's such a power involved with Scorpio, a lot of yelling can be going on, a lot of quarreling, and a lot of needing to be right. You're never right. You're never wrong. It'll be really a great day when you start celebrating just the fact that you are, and let all of your judgments and labels go about your need to be anything. And today we have stepped into, I thought this was so interesting because I kind of lost sight of this until I was just on my way up to the radio station today. We're stepping in the galactic frequency into the fourth month of the galactic calendar. And the fourth month is actually called self-existing. So it's called, the full title is the self-existing owl moon of form. So the object from a galactic point of view is actually to re-examine what form will your sense of service take for the next 4 weeks. And a lot of it is almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. You were well encoded when you came to this planet. You're encoded so magnificently with prophetic information, with profound information, with information that really is designed to help you be liberated and free. However, from the age of 2 years old, that is beaten out of you one way or another. Now, it could be beaten out of you under the guise of behave nicely. Oh, you need to behave. Oh, you need to sit still. The other day I went to a Little League baseball game for my 7-year-old grandson. This little guy is a free spirit, and I want to bottle him. I want to put him safely in a bottle. Now, at 7 years old, we're not talking the major leagues here. So he's somewhere out in the outfield. He's just kind of decided he was going to lay down, do a little spread eagle out there, took his baseball cap off, and he's just laying there, loving the grass, loving the sky. And I'm sitting across in the bleachers, loving him. To me, he was doing exactly what he should have been doing. As a 7-year-old, no game was in action. There was nothing to do. Well, the guy sitting next to me, called his daddy, was not pleased at all. No, you got to get up. You got to behave in a certain way. Come on. And I'm like, whoa. There's way too much of that, and that kills creativity. It kills your spirit. What's wrong with playing hard when you should play and rest delightfully when you want to rest? I think it's called the balance of yin and yang, and that's missing in our culture. Our culture in the West is what we call very yang, Y-A-N-G. That's the piston energy. That's the do, I got to do. Kids in this country, for the most part, are so programmed that it's completely obnoxious. When do they have a chance to lay on the ground, sit on the swing, not even swing, just sit there and twirl around? I did a heck of a lot of that as a little girl because I couldn't even figure out how to pump the pumper thing that you're supposed to pump in your body. So I would just sit there and twirl and dream. Thank God when I was a little girl, I dreamed a lot. School did not interest me. I some which way managed to please the nuns enough so that I passed, but I wasn't interested. I was interested in dreaming, and not much of what they had to say did I feel in my soul was actually correct. I learned a lot of English. That served me well. The rest, not so much. And interestingly enough, I learned a lot about what means, what has substance. Now, mind you, I was probably pretty ridiculed and criticized for that until I could learn to stand in it comfortably. It's kind of like a Saint Bernard. They're born with great big feet and they have to learn to stand in them comfortably. I think we all have to learn to stand in our feet. So I was tuned in today before I got here to something on the internet which I thought isn't that interesting, because I don't know about it, and I don't care about it. But it had to do with the label and the judgment that something was left wing versus right wing. Well, here's what I think about right and left wings. I think you need both a right wing and a left wing to fly properly. However, what you really need is the center of your body, the main path, the center path, which is a path of reflection and contemplation and presence and focus. And so you could clip off the left wing and the right wing for all I care. Go to the center line. But this story was very interesting, and I know I'm kind of deviating from the galactic information, but this story has piqued my interest for the better part of a month. And it's about North Dakota, and some of you have been aware of it and what's going on out there with this pipeline going through and the violation of Indian sacred space and holy waters. In this country, very little water is drinkable. Why would that be? Because corporate greed has polluted it all. And why would that be? So that we have to buy water. And in some places you are arrested now for collecting rainwater. It's a very twisted world right now. But what happened the other day really disturbed me. There's a journalist, a top flight journalist, please, who's won all sorts of awards, Amy Goodman. Now, I have to laugh at her name. First of all, you got to love it. Good man. Are you kidding me? Just drop one of those O's. We got God in drag, known as Amy. Let's take a look. So Amy, it seems, was arrested for her journalistic approach to reporting truthfully about what was happening there. And they were going to lock her away for something like 26 years. Now, I think the reason this concerns me, and it should certainly concern you, Amy, even if she was, an obnoxious, pushy gal, but she wasn't. She was simply a very fine journalist. Well, what was happening here was a violation of free speech. And why would that be important to you? Well, if it's not important, someone like myself can't appear safely on a radio show. We can't give a thought because, God forbid, it's against what big pharma wants, big corporations want, big gov wants. And, hey, come on. Do you want to be a walking robot? But at any rate, this dear woman, that you had to see her picture. You had to listen to her. Well-spoken, gracious, not contentious. And she was simply doing her job. And then they tried to actually escalate the fact that she was, I guess, trespassing on land that she shouldn't have been trespassing on. Then they tried to escalate it to riot charges. Well, finally, today, I guess, or maybe yesterday actually, the charges were dropped. I got to tell you, if those charges were not dropped, you and I would be in deep, deep hot water. And I kept thinking, what would I do if they weren't dropped? Where would I go? Because this country would be such a complete, dismal failure to me that the justice system would be so corrupt that it would not support her right to report things truthfully? Now, we all know that the media, every single station on the television, is 100% bought and paid for. If you don't know that, well, you've been sleeping under a rock. So come out from under the rock. Nothing that you hear there is in your interest, actually. It's all bought and paid for, depending on who wants what. So when a good man, or a God man, known as a woman in this case, steps up and has courage like this, I have to tell you, I wondered, would I have such courage? Would you have such courage? I just thought it was astounding. And I really, my thoughts to her during the night were that she be protected. She also, when she, I guess in there, I don't know, in there or out there, the details don't particularly, I don't hold on to them. But she was also made aware in there that 2 people who had been arrested, again, for simply standing up to protect their land and help you make an informed decision. One was the pediatrician, and the other, the pediatrician of Standing Rock tribe. She was threatened horribly, and the other was the head of the tribe. Both of them not only brought to jail, then, of course, the final indignity, now they have to be strip searched. Yeah, tell me about that. That is, it's demoralizing, it's dehumanizing. It's probably about one of the lowest things that mankind can do to one another, aside from out-and-out rape. So, I mean, really? Would you take a look at your own? If you're not going to learn to speak up properly and stand on the middle road, forget this right-wing, left-wing nonsense. Your wings have been clipped for so long, you don't even have any wings. But if you will contemplate and reflect, gain information, don't just dismiss it. This woman that you don't even know stood up for you and me. And you know what? You and I are very lucky that she's still alive and didn't just somehow disappear or just suddenly decide to commit suicide like so many of the other wonderful illuminated people in this country. Just something to think about. If you want to comment on that, now's your time. 321-806-3159. 321-806-3159. And this is your lesson with Elaine Bartlett. So in this galactic information here, okay, and when it's self-existing moon, it really does have to do with defining things, defining what do you want? Now, I have a little group that meets on Wednesday evenings in my home down here in Florida. And the other evening, a gal was wanting to find her purpose, and she seemed so confused. And I just looked at her and said, well, what color is your purpose? And she didn't hesitate for a second. She simply blurted out, yellow. My purpose is yellow. Well, look to see what color your purpose is, because encoded in the color is what you've come to do, at least at this time. So next year, her purpose could be blue. But right now, I just gave her right back what yellow is for. So if your purpose is yellow today, you've lucked out. Yellow has to do with the third chakra, gaining information, learning, studying. Information is light eventually, and light, of course, is wisdom. And I know this gal enough to understand that she just does happen to be learning now a lot. She's in a learning curve. So it may be expanded for her in some which way. So it was very easy to understand the definition for her of her purpose was, this week, her purpose was yellow. It also has to do with checking out. Now, this is a 4-week zone. Checking out your foundation. How solid is it? Do you need to completely detonate your whole foundation? Is your foundation rocky? Is it not built? Is your home not built soundly? And I don't mean the home necessarily your house. I mean you. Is your foundation Yeah, is it time to change your diet and have a sturdier body? Is it time to not only change your thinking, understand that your thinking is transitory, therefore it's really not real? So is it time to stop thinking so much and rebuild your foundation with just being? So every day you get to reconstruct, redesign, or construct and design your perceptions. Your perceptions are, they should always be expanding. They should be dropping. They should be expanding. Everything that your mother told you at 3 should be either dropped by now or built upon, depending on what she told you. Some parents did a great job with a good foundation. A lot in the United States, they were not available, or their lives were in such chaos that they actually couldn't give you a good foundation. So start digging. You deserve that during this particular 4-week passage. And it's interesting because the Scorpio energy will give you a lot of focus to do that. Scorpios, they're so focused. It's just delightful to see. The other thing that's really lovely about today, it's something called a galactic portal, which simply means it is a wonderful day to expand your consciousness into other areas of creation. So that could be expand into the inner earth. Who's there? Expand upward into other dimensions, other galaxies. Bond with them. It's a fantastic day to do that. I had a wonderful helper yesterday in my home doing some little things that were just too challenging for me to do, and he was working on changing a dimmer switch for me. And interestingly enough, it had been a long day. I had many tasks for this young man. And by now, I could see he's kind of time to be done. But he did not flinch. He kept at this thing. And finally, I loved it. He started talking to the pieces of equipment. And he kept saying to them, now look, you belong in there. That's your home. Now, make it easy on yourself. Come on there. Slide right in. I didn't think anybody on the planet spoke to stuff except myself. And darn it, shortly the pieces slid right in. So you can talk to your toaster if you want, and you're not going to be judged loony. Or you can talk to, again, inner earth, outer earth, the essence of you. Talk to your organs. Have you ever tried talking to your stomach? Or your spleen? Or your kidneys? Have you ever told them that you recognize they are a complete universe unto each one of themselves? And you honor them for the work that they're doing, no matter what kind of low-test gas you insist on putting in? You know, for years I put low-test gas in my body, kind of thinking, oh, well, I just have a sweet tooth. It's okay. But, you know, a lot of damage was done that way. So now I simply apologize to them. That's the consciousness I had at the time. And now I just appreciate them and love them for the work they do in their inner universe. Also, you know, you should check out my own inner universe of my website so that you can see some of the things that I am up to, aside from speaking to my inner self and those in outer dimensions. My website is Higher Consciousness, HIERConsciousness.com, higherconsciousness.com, and it's your reluctant mystic, Elaine Bartlett. Okay, so here's one other tidbit that I want to share because I loved this story. Well, I loved it and I didn't love it. I have a friend, and his name is Michael. Michael is what I call a gentle giant. He's a very big guy. I mean, he must be 6'5", 6'7". He's a giant. He's a man among men. And he kind of walks around the world as if he's carrying the world on his shoulders. He's like got that disposition. And he's so impressive that way. And it's not a burden. He just carries life. And Michael is married to a dear friend of mine, and they live up in the Northeast. Michael walks through life cleverly disguised as a plumber. But I actually know better. This gentle giant is a nurturer and a lover of land and life. And as such, whenever he's not out plumbing, he goes and he attends to his gardens, and his garden could feed all of New York State, I'm quite convinced. But last Christmas, he decided he wanted to raise bees. And so all the family members chipped in, and they got Michael all of the things that are necessary to become, I guess, a first-class beekeeper. You get a little starter kit called the hive, and then you get some bee frames, and the gear, the jacket, the gloves, the helmet. You get the honey extractor, your hot knife, a smoker, and, of course, the queen bee. And Michael was absolutely in his element, loving these bees, and grew the colony to 40,000 bees. Happy, happy, happy. Enough honey, gallons of honey, like I think 3 or 4 gallons of honey. And he was teaching his daughters the thrill of mastering this delicate art, and teaching his daughters the vital role of bees in our lives, and all about their pollination skills. And without the bees, we're not going to have much life on this planet. And particularly one of his daughters, Sarah, who seems to be following in this gentle giant's footsteps very easily, she was so attuned to this whole process. So recently they went out to kind of, I guess, I don't know what you do with bees on a daily basis, but tending to the bees. And they got to the hive, and neither one of them could speak. They didn't know what to do with themselves. 40,000 bees lay on the ground dead. They were heartsick. As the bees lay there, he turned to hopelessness, helplessness, frustration, rage. How could this happen? Well, they're in the process of trying to explore how it happened. Either the bees flew to another farm where they had been spraying pesticides and ingested that, or some of the pesticide from other farms blew into this territory. They're just not sure. But again, when you think of this, it really brings up the question, what are you doing? This was a whole colony, what they actually call in bee language, a colony collapse. And I thought to myself, a colony collapse? Are you kidding me? This is a human collapse. This is the collapse of our life. Without the bees, you and I ain't gonna be. So, again, can you not see why I'm thinking, give up your allegiance to a right wing or a left wing and learn to consciously be? And start asking and questioning, what are these pesticides doing? I was so delighted after our hurricane, well, actually during the hurricane that we had down here a couple of weeks ago, thinking, oh, thank goodness, some of the pesticide, the terribly toxic poison that was being spread in portions of South Florida to supposedly prevent Zika, which is completely fabricated. I thought, oh, good, the rains will wash it away. Only to hear earlier this week, well, they're back to spraying again. Of course, you can only question, so who's profiting from that? Who owns that spray? My, what a question. Ask the questions. Ask the questions. Don't make up your own answers. Research, dig, process it. This is going to be moving towards your liberation, your awakening. And this is correcting some of your thoughts, some of your narrowness of just being very content and ego-based with you're safe. You're not so safe when 40,000 bees just simply die. You're not safe at all. So now let's look at a little bit of Feng Shui in your business. How about that? Those of you who have a home business, let's address that first. Home businesses, because a lot of people now have a home business because they've lost their positions with places that were closed down. That's another topic worth exploring for yourself. So with a home business, try to carve out, if you can, at least a little space for yourself. If it must be in the bedroom because of limited space, you have to have it in a way that's not the first thing you see when you wake up in the morning and the last thing you see when you go to sleep at night. Because you'll never recover. You'll never have a way to restore yourself because business will be too much in your mind. So put it in a spot, even if it's in a bedroom, that you can see the computer and your desk. Cover your computer at night. Put a towel over it. You don't want to see that screen. Also, if it's in the master bedroom, it needs to be darn organized because I've said before on this show, your master bedroom is a place to get renewed and for love. That's the only thing you're supposed to be doing in the master bedroom. So if you can, take it out of the bedroom. And what's the best place in the house? The place that you can have the space for it. I mean, it's that simple. Some of you have to have it in the kitchen, but some of you actually can carve out a little bedroom. You know, you don't need to hold on to a bedroom for a child who's left the nest 10 years ago. You don't need to be holding that space for them. You can turn that into a wonderful office. If you can have your back against a wall, that's usually the strongest way to do it, if you can. It's nice to be able to see out a window, if you can. And again, the object of the game is less clutter, more productivity. So you don't want to have 4 projects going at one time. Finish one, get on to the next. And things that you've lost sight of 6 months ago, probably take time out, get to the bottom of it, throw it out. The frequency doesn't even work anymore for you. So do away with that. If you have a lot of equipment in the let's now suppose you actually have an office. If you have a lot of equipment that is no longer functional, let's suppose you've got several computers that they're old, but you don't want to throw them out, and you got to get them out of that room. You will think better as the room is lighter. If the room needs a coat of paint, paint it. If you want to have a good idea of what color to paint the room for yourself, then that's when you need to either call me at 321-806-3159 today, or email me privately, purpleportal777@gmail.com. purpleportal777@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to tell you what color to paint the office. But the object here is keep it fresh, keep it alive, keep things moving so that your business is moving and things aren't stagnant. One of the gals I know works a lot with crystals, and her office, she actually has 2 offices, one at home, but then she goes into an office daily. And there's a lot of quarrels in the office where she goes daily. So she managed to, initially, when she went into this office at another location, she didn't want to seem too obnoxious or anything, but she works a lot with crystals. So she brought some crystals in and placed them very innocuously on her desk at work. Well, recently, because of a lot of tension, and there's a lot of tension out there in the marketplace in every walk of life. So if you're feeling it, I have some suggestions. So recently, she's sitting at her desk at work, and actually, because she's so at one with the crystals, she actually heard the crystals say, "I'm out of here. This is too big a job for me. I want to go home." So she took the crystals home and sent me a text yesterday with what she replaced them with. Holy mackerel. These are big, big crystals that are now holding the frequency for an entire floor of the company she's working with. And I can only say to you, that is one lucky company. They should give her a raise just based on her ability to read energy and care enough to help steady it. If we each cared just a little bit more, you'd learn to hear the voice of the crystal. You'd learn to speak with the flower and the tree and the grass. You would learn to be my humble repairman who's coaxing a piece into the wall saying, "You know you belong here. It's okay. You come on now. Go on back in your home. You're going to be happy." And the thing obeys it. This is proper use of energy. This is what we've all been burned at the stake for talking about in other lifetimes. This is the thing that we're ridiculed for, dismissed for, poo-pooed about. And if that's your consciousness, so be it. I honor where you are. But you are missing so much you have no idea. Because when things start to speak with you and you understand it, your consciousness it's growing a brand new right wing and left wing, but wings that have nothing to do with the lower consciousness down here. And isn't that where you'd rather be? That's where I'd rather be. Why not? I mean, it's great to be here, but I'd rather be larger here. So in your office, look around. What do you see? Are you seeing... At one point, I had a big sign in my office that had pictures of dollar bills on it. You go into a restaurant or a new business sometimes and you see their first dollar bill or $5 bill or $25 bill on the wall. Well, there's a reason for that. It's helping them on a very, very little bit level to remember that this is a building process and we need money to run the ship properly and pay the bills and keep the lights on. So maybe it's a symbol of money. But if you have a symbol in your space that does not resonate right with you, if you have a picture of your ex mother-in-law and you didn't like her to begin with, it's time to take that picture down. If you have a picture of disaster, like ships, I walk into businesses sometimes and they have ships like on seas that are rough and the ship is being broken apart. That is not good feng shui for having a business that can endure the rough seas carefully and steadily. So be very cognizant. What's on the walls? You have to laugh. And if the picture hasn't been dusted or cleaned in years, if it's got glass on the front of it, go get the Windex and give it a wipe down. It'll breathe. Things breathe better when they're clean. You and I do. Why would a thing be any different? If your car is your office, and this is tricky because years ago I used to sell real estate, and so many realtors, their car was their office. And it more often than not, the offices were so despicable that you just hoped you'd never have to get in their car. It would be a cross-wiring between a nasty office and a movie theater after a crowd of people that were completely discarding anything and everything wildly all about them. Wrappers on the floor, kids' peanut butter sandwiches stuck in places. No, clean your car, especially, well, first of all, your car should be clean at all times. But if it isn't, and if it's your office, you're not going to have a prosperous business as you could have. So even if it's remotely prosperous now, it'll be way more prosperous. So get in there. If your seats are leather, take some leather cleaner, clean them. If they're vinyl, clean them. If they're upholstered, vacuum them. Yeah, there is such a thing called vacuuming your car. It does wonders. So you can see now also in your car, I keep a little crystal in my car. I think I've mentioned that before. Keep a little crystal in your car. It just depends on how much you want to be invested in your own well-being. I'm going to go back now. So you get the point with your car. Please clean it. Let's go back inside to your office that you're with other people. If you have a space, you've got your own cubby, and you have 160 pictures of your children from the time they came out of the womb until they're married, and now you've got every picture of your grandchild, or you've got every picture of a superstar. I mean, unless you're working for Extra or something and you need pictures of stars around you, movie stars, okay, fine. Other than that, take the stuff down. Doesn't belong there. It's inappropriate, and it's congesting your thinking. Less is more. I know some of you still have the stuffed animals. I don't know what that's about, but I guess it's a reluctance to give up your childhood. But if you are 56 years old, you may want to consider possibly it's time to let some of that go so that bigger and better things can come into you. So look at your cubby, look at your space. If you have 7,000 mugs lined up, some of them still with coffee in from the last year's Christmas party, maybe you want to clean them, take them, give them, donate them. Something called Goodwill and all these great places where you can simply give things away. So it's a wonderful time to restore your balance by looking at the feng shui of your car, of your modular, of your home, of your big office, whatever you're doing. Oh, and your chair, one little thing about your chair. Are you sitting in a chair that's appropriate for yourself? If you're the boss and you're sitting like on a rickety little stool, it actually takes your power away. So be careful how you're using chairs. And if you're sitting in a chair where the last 6 people sat in that chair and they were fired or stole from the company, I would say you're deserving of another chair. So chairs are way more powerful than you might suspect. And you are way more powerful than you might suspect. And I hope this week you learned a little. Your perception is expanded a lot. Know that my heart is with you on your journey. It's a great journey. You are the staff of life. You're it, kid. Safe travels. Until next week, have a good week.